Michaela, you mentioned earlier, that work actually started with ABC Realty. In 2019, we decided that, we wanted to take on something bigger than just buying and selling real estate, because, anybody could do that if they wanted to, but we wanted to take on something bigger. And so we decided that we wanted to take on this, what we call the home ownership gap. In Minnesota, we have one of the highest home ownership rates in the country. I believe we oscillate between number 1 and number 3. So we have one of the highest home ownership rates in the country. However, families of color own homes at a rate of, I think, like 41% less than white families. So we have this huge gap in home ownership between families of color and white families in Minnesota. And I think a lot of what you said earlier, Michaela, about these systemic and historic practices that kept families of color from owning homes, or if they did own homes, they could only own homes in areas that were disinvested in, right? That still plays out today. Today, it hasn't gone away, and so for us to stand in this space on talking about the homeownership gap and identifying people and identifying entities that are standing in that space to work toward eliminating that homeownership gap became paramount to ABC Realty. And that's kind of what spawned our community building work. And we had fun with it. We brought in partners that were working in that space. We teamed up with the Eastside Freedom Library for the physical space. And we said, well, let's have some conversations like we're doing today. Let's have some conversations about the home ownership gap. And what we heard from the community, we heard that there are young people out there that are couch surfing because they can't afford today's market rents. We heard that there are old folks out there that would love to sell their bread and butter property, but they can't or won't, concede, their sales proceeds to pay for assisted living. And so they're stuck in this property, which by the way, could free up a lot of inventory, a lot of affordable inventory, if there was a viable option for enough folks that are aging out and aging in place. We could open up a lot of inventory that way. We heard from people that did go into home ownership, that they went through all the steps, they did it, landed in a home only to be greeted by neighbors that didn't want people that looked like them living next door to them. We heard all of these themes emerge in these conversations that we had, and it was, people started coming back. There's a lot of people out here that feel the same way that we feel, that are concerned about the things that we're talking about right now, but they may not have anyone to share it with, or they may not feel comfortable talking about it. And so, we proudly use our platform here at ABC Realty to have these conversations and to open up these discussions. And the conversations that started in 2019 around closing the home ownership gap have evolved into what is known today as the Eastside Housing Justice Coalition, which is, if you haven't heard about that, look it up. It's a great opportunity to get engaged and to learn more about, the things that impact housing, because it's never as simple as, owning and or renting. There's a lot more things happening in that space. And here at ABC Realty, That's what we want to bring to the table. That's what makes us unique. Is we're a brokerage that isn't afraid to stand in this space, and we're not afraid to have these conversations. And we invite you in to join us. So I invite you to stay tuned for our future podcast, because we're going to continue these conversations.